Good evening, everyone. This is Introducing Peers, Social Skills Curriculum for Adolescents and Adults, a virtual learning option. My name is Melissa Dubie. I'm an educational consultant at IRCA. And this is Betty Lou Rowe, my colleague.
Good evening.
Tonight we're talking about the Peers curriculum. This is a curriculum that we have been using for a while. It's written for individuals with autism spectrum disorders, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, anxiety, depression, and other social emotional problems. It was first developed in UCA by Dr. Elizabeth Lageson. It is a curriculum that is supported by research, and it has many evidence-based practices in it. The evidence-based practices that are included in it include visual supports. Betty Lou and I have created from the curriculum. We attended the curriculum training for 6 days of training in 2009. And because of that, we thought that it needed more visual supports when we did some training with it. So we created PowerPoints to go along with each of the lessons. We also created, it has reinforcements in it. So we've done point systems with our students. We have had them earn time to be ahead of a game, or in different ways we've used reinforcements with them. It also includes a video modeling, and the video modeling, it has an aspects of it which is included on their website, which has videos in it. So it's they're already made, they're already a part of it. It also is, all of it is small group social skills training. We have used breakout rooms because of being in virtual. So that has been a benefit for the training. We also do practice skills inside of class, but then also outside of class. Many of the students have difficulty generalizing the skills. So as a result, we have not been able, we want them to be able to generalize the skills. So we have them practice outside of the class with similar to homework, but we call it practice skills instead. Many of the students don't like the fact that it could be called homework. So that's why we do call it practice skills. There's also a family component to the peers group, which we really appreciate. We created tips, which Betty Lou will talk about in a little while. We also have created PowerPoints to show examples of what the parents, to show the parents what we're teaching throughout the week. So it's really been, we really like the fact that it has a family component so that we can include families in the lesson, and so they can help with, again, with the generalization. Some important aspects of the program on the left side of the screen are areas that we know are characteristics of individuals with autism. We know individuals have repetitive themes, that they only talk about their interests. Now, I know that all of you may have some individuals in your families, or that that you work with, that have restricted areas of interest, and they only want to talk about their own interests. Well, the peers curriculum addresses this by having the students find common interests. We practice having two-way conversations for many weeks, and the many weeks can be included in different lessons. And so when we're encouraging them during practice skills to meet with each other and play a game with each other online, then that also, they have to have so many exchanges for their two-way conversation so that they can get used to having that two-way conversation. Part of the practice skill also is that they would find a common interest when they're talking to each other. So it's not, I might be interested in kayaking, but Betty Lou might be interested in Ohio State football. And so we really both need to figure out what the other person's interested in, but also, what do we have in common? Because before we can build a friendship, we have to find a common interest to even know that we could possibly have a friendship. So the practice skills for get-togethers and the homework after class really extend us, getting them a little bit out of their comfort zone of their own interests, but also learning about others' interests. And so that helps with the often having one-sided conversations as well. So that's part of the program. Another part of the program addresses our individuals' autism is difficulty interpreting verbal and nonverbal social cues. And so a lot of our students don't understand sarcasm, or they don't understand if someone has rolled their eyes when they tell a joke, that they're not reading the body language. They also may not understand that a tone of voice of someone is giving the cue to you that that is not acceptable, or, hey, come on over and join the group. So within the curriculum, like I said, there are videos, and the videos, we're going to put those in the chat box so that you can see you can even look at the videos. But the videos are awesome because they show a poor example of it, but then it also shows a good example. And there's one character in there, her name is Elena, and she's always making mistakes. And so after 3 or 4 weeks, even the participants have said, well, what did Elena do now? How can we help her make a better decision? So gets to be kind of a funny within the people in the class. So we also, with the videos, we often start and stop the videos so we can talk about the body language and point out what body language do we see. And in the beginning, many individuals don't really see what we see. So we point it out. Let's play it again. Let's watch it again so that we can figure it out, and so that they can see that, oh, somebody did roll their eyes, or somebody turned their back, or somebody's, folding their arms. And so folding your arms means, you might be bored about it, or they might turn their back, and that shows that they're not interested in what you're doing. One of the lessons too is about joining groups, and so an understanding that sometimes you're accepted, and when you're accepted, the circle will be a half circle or a horseshoe, and then that means that you'll be able to come in through the opening of that horseshoe. That shows that you could be welcomed to that group. And then when you have that two-way conversation, because you joined in, you listened, then you joined in because you had something you could share about the common interest with what the group is talking about. Or you might be rejected. Maybe first they said, sure, you made a comment about their conversation, but then they completely turn and close the circle. So we talk about how it looks when you're accepted and then rejected, and how it looks when you're completely accepted. So those lessons have been very helpful. And humor feedback is one of the favorite units that was within the curriculum. The students tell jokes to each other, and we also teach them that you give feedback by how you feel about the joke. You might give a courtesy laugh, which is just that was okay. Or you might give a really huge, man, that was the best joke I've ever heard, and I really want to tell that to my friend. So that's a different type of respond. Or you might not laugh at all, and so that tells you I shouldn't tell that joke again, because they gave me the humor that's not really a funny joke. So really understanding what those body languages are for the jokes. So another characteristics of autism is having poor social motivation. Many of our students, they're not involved in curriculum activities or clubs or sports. And so one of the units talks about choosing appropriate friends, and within choosing appropriate friends, knowing what kind of groups are at school, or what kind of activities you're interested as adult. How do you find groups of friends as an adult? So it doesn't matter the age. There is 2 different types of curriculum for the peers, but they both address how to choose appropriate friends, and then how to keep your friends, and then how to meet your friends as part of it. Another part of the curriculum is peer rejection. Students are often teased or bullied when they have a disability, and so as a result, they're not really sure how to handle it. The curriculum always starts out with, well, what has the adult told you when it's about teasing and bullying? And often I have to tell you, I learned this from the curriculum as well, because I've always said to the kids, just ignore and walk away. Well, the nice thing about this curriculum is it really says, no, that's not what you do, actually. What you should do is you need to give a response like, whatever, or Do you think that was funny? And you shrug your shoulders, you have a little attitude about it, and you give that type of response 2 times, maybe 3, and then you walk away. But the idea of the curriculum is that you're still responding, but you're really responding that you don't care what they have to say because a person's teasing you. We also talk about physical bullying and that you would act differently about physical bullying. How do you avoid a bully at the school? How do you take a different route? And honestly, it's also related to having those friends, because if you have one friend in a social group that hangs out with you in your class, then you can walk together. Bullies don't usually bother our students um, if they're with another person. So we talk about how that is really important. And then we also talk about safety and internet and cyberbullying, because many of our students are on the internet, they're playing games. And how do you stay safe? Is your username your name, or is your username, something else that's Takis123 that has nothing to do with you, so no one would know what that's you, and what information to share, what information not to share? Because honestly, everybody on the internet is a stranger. And what do we share with strangers? Nothing. We only talk about the game. So those are some tips that we include in the curriculum. And the last part is that we talk about peer conflict. And I think sometimes our peers are unsure how to handle an argument, or they think, if I have an argument with someone, then I'm never going to be friends again. And so we try there is a lesson on handling arguments, that everybody has them. Even if you're best of friends, you're still not going to get along all the time. And how do you work through that argument so that you can be able to still continue to be friends, agree to disagree, come to a compromise. So listen to each other. So all of those are just life skills that are good for all people. So I've been talking about students a lot, but the curriculum also has a young adult version. And the young adult version has many of the same type of lessons I just talked about for students. It expands it more, so it's about meeting people in public, or where do I go in public to meet people. It also has a whole section on dating etiquette. And I like this part because it talks about where we'll not only you start with, I like to say, you start with friends before you start dating someone, but then what do you do? How do you, it talks about, like, how do I let someone I even might like them? And we again go back to, do you have a common interest with the person? Have you talked to the person? It's not just texting and deciding that, gosh, we should start dating now. It has to be for a longer period of time. But then how do you decide if that's the right person that you want to date? How do you ask someone on a date? How do you, what do you do on a date? And then really, what are the do's and the don'ts so that you are sure that you stay safe on your date? We talk about that you should let someone else know that you're going on a date. Have that person check in with you so that they'll know that where are you? Are you safe? So those are really important. Where do you go on your first date? We talk about that you really want to be in a public place and with a lot of lights on. Like, a movie is not a great place to be on your first date, but a coffee shop is great, or a restaurant, a very busy park. You don't want to be, again, left to your own devices. Not own devices, but you don't want just to be alone with this person on your first date. You want to be safe. You maybe want to meet the person there. You don't want them pick you up because you don't want to give them their address because you don't know them well enough. So really walking through all of these aspects of dating etiquette is a part of the Peers for Young Adult curriculum. So prior to class, when we have class, prior to the class, we have, I forgot to tell you the history of Betty Lou. We both became trainers in 2019. We were trained by Dr. Laugesen herself. It was during the middle of the pandemic, and we wanted to go ahead and get started and start training on using the peers curriculum. And from that, we So we started working with a school district, and we worked with the speech and language pathologist. She helped us find some of the students, and we were able to do all the practice all of our skills together. So that was really helpful. That helped us create those PowerPoints. We developed pre-tests and post-tests, and all of those kind of things. And so that some games, so it really helped us develop the curriculum more. And so then we've gotten an AWS grant, and we work with school districts on the northeast side of the state. And then we also have been able to teach on our own for school age students and then also adults. So prior to class, we like to meet with the students or the adults. If it's an adult class, we like to meet with the family or caregivers or the trusted person. If they're adults, it may not be their immediate family. It might be a minister. It might be a family friend. It could be it could be a friend. So we'd like to meet the people that we're going to be working with, and then whoever's going to come to help them follow through and generalize the skills in the future. So we do this intake interview, and the interview is really just for us to get more insights of how the individual perceives how many friends they have. Do they have friends? What kind of support do they need to make more friends? Or what do they need on date when they're dating? And then what does this trusted friend believe that they also need to be helped with? And we were trying to gain perspective on just what skills they have and related to making and keeping friends, and what skills they want to gain from making keeping friends. So there is a pre and post assessment. The assessment, we put it in Google Forms because it's easy to share. And it's really the pre and post is for the individuals to take so that we can get insights from them. We also have tried to use some neurotypical peers or peers that don't have disabilities, and so that they can also be a part of the group. They can be good peer models, and the peer models have been very beneficial to share how do you make friends, how do you find friends, how do you start interacting with friends. And so we've talked to the peer models ahead of time too, to say, hey, this is a role for you in the class as well. We want you to be able to be guide the others through the class so that they know how they can apply the skills. So then we set up a Google or a Teams that we're going to share each week. We share all of the lessons, all of the handouts, all of the practice skills within the Google or Teams that we use, so that the trusted person and family members will have a copy of that, so that they'll know what we're teaching at all times. And then we follow up that with a welcome letter. And the welcome letter is just detailed information of how we're going to get started, remind them of the time we're going to get started. If we're working in schools, then we try to make it so that we have written release. But if most of the time, if we're just working on our own, then we don't need that. But the welcome letter gives them all the details about the Google Teams and where the work will be, and just gives them overall view of everything that's going to happen. So the next component part of the lesson is we do create PowerPoints. And one of the key points of the PowerPoint is buzzwords. And buzzwords are important words that we'll use for the lesson. So a buzzword is, one of the buzzwords is friendship. Friendship is a choice. Badilu?
I'll go back here. So Melissa kind of set up the components that we have to start with. The buzzwords are very important. We emphasize those they're the purple words so you might hear that. from our participants that it's the words that we focus upon. And a lot of stuff we talk about is extra important, but these are the things we want them to stick. We want them to leave with sort of these ideas. So once again, friendship, and we are very insistent that friendship is a choice on both sides. You choose your friends and your friends choose their friends too. And so friendship is a choice. The PowerPoints that Melissa talked about, and we have found that to be extremely helpful, very visual for everyone, and it gives us the opportunity to share with others, the trusted adults, the family members, what's happening. We also provide scripts because we know with the two-way conversations, as Melissa talked about, can be challenging, the starting, the ending, and so forth. So we will create scripts for our participants that will help them get started. And then we want to fade those out, you know, as they get more comfortable. And we've had great feedback that that's been a helpful component, is to form those words first and then give them practice. The videos, and Alina, she is a favorite. And so we, they will ask about her. Like Melissa said, they will ask, are we going to see Alina today? Because sometimes there's a video and sometimes they're not, but they are great. And on the screen here, this is the website for Dr. Logginson's work. Amy had placed that in the chat. So you can go there. All that, the videos are free. So you can go in and check those out as well. We believe game playing, one, is good for us to practice interacting through games, but also to test comprehension. And we have Jeopardy, Kahoot, we've done Pictionary, Watch Your Mouth, and a lot of other different games that we played with the students that then they can also use when they start to do their own virtual get-togethers. And the role plays and scripts, once again, that we know we have the lesson, we have the videos, but we'll also role play that with participants, with the neurotypical peers, with each other, if Melissa and I are doing a lesson together. So we do believe that that's very helpful to give all that modeling before the students take off and practice themselves. The family component, as Melissa said, is extremely important, whether it is the family members or sometimes we have adults who have support through agencies, and we like to pull them in as much as we can so that they can help practice and generalize those. We try to meet where our goal is to always meet once a week for about an hour. And we try to be very flexible, knowing not everyone's schedule is the same. So Melissa or I, depending on who is running that group, we try to be very flexible with those who are supporting the participants outside of class. We will do a review of the lesson and also what the practice skills for the week are. And we want this, because when we're not part of it, we want these skills to continue to move forward. And that's why this component is so important for the participants. So I'm going to show you an example of a coaching tip sheet. And there's like, I think 3 slides that we'll walk through this with you. So on this particular one, it was choosing appropriate friends. And so we just gave a quick about choosing friends, and that one of the aspects of that was exploring social groups and extracurricular activities, including clubs and so forth, in and out of school. Because once again, we have adults and we have students that are in middle school or high school in their different classes. And so, for example, this was part of the high school group, and we want them to tell us what is happening in their buildings. And so we would make a list of those. And then we want the families or whomever is supporting the individual to think through what these clubs and activities, and also maybe think of others. With our adults, we really start exploring the community about what is out there. And we get feedback from those that are supporting them as well, because we believe they're part of their community, moving around that community in different ways, and we want to explore what is there at hand for them. And then the practice skills we would review as well during our hour. And typically we would assign, for example, this class was Tuesday, Thursday. So we're like, we're going to assign the practice skills on Thursday and it's due on Tuesday before the class begins at 3:15. And we want them to be practicing outside of class because once again, that's key for generalization of the skill that they're learning. So for this week, for example, the goal is to do one, but feel free to do both because we did offer in this week 2 different ways to practice. So a get together and they were to spend 15 to 20 minutes with their family or their class or their group, depending upon the group, without an electronic device. This was big because we had some parents say, I don't know if we can get this to happen. I'm like, well, we'll take it. We're going to present the practice skills to the group. So I will be glad to say it's me who is asking everyone to do this. And for example, play a card game, board game, and so forth, like basically choosing something to do together. And the goal is to engage in this and practice the conversation skills. So to find something to do that was not electronic based. The second part of this was categories prep. So we were going to be playing the game categories virtually. And so this allowed those that are supporting the students or the adults to come up with 3 words that others may not choose, because the purpose of categories is so that you don't have the same word. And so you want to think outside the box. You don't want a common word. So for example, things you wear and the common things, shirt, pants, and so forth. But what we were trying to have the groups do is expand that. What are some uncommon answers so that they could think through these categories? So they could choose to do one or both of those. And then we always give, hey, we understand that this may not be as understandable as we want it to be, or if you have certain questions, or how do I talk through this with my adult or with the student, then you can always contact us and we put that information there. So that's sort of our tip sheet for working through that weekly lesson and the practice skills. We believe in feedback from those families and agencies that we work with. And so there was a family who shared this testimonial. I loved how you walked us through step by step what you reviewed with the kids. Very thorough. Your time and efforts are greatly appreciated. And as Melissa shared before, when we ran this as a pilot with a middle school group coming out of the pandemic, was they helped us rethink how we wanted to do things virtually. This curriculum that we learned, we did not learn to do it virtually. We learned it to be in person. So we wanted to take this to another level, and their feedback totally helped us recreate some of the things that we do, and we continue to change. One of the things that, even though we might have certain topics we cover, PowerPoints are created, once we get in with our group, there's sometimes we need to change. So we're very flexible about the how and what we use to work with our participants. Melissa covered this with our journey, but just so you have that, it was a journey. It started in 2019, and there's so much we have learned over the years, the couple of years that we've been doing this, and we hope to do it for many more. So with our previous virtual opportunities, we did have the grants. We had grant-based middle school and high school sessions to specific school districts. So we were able to work with groups on this. We had middle and high school sessions that we offered nationally, and we had some kids from California. That was always interesting when we're out of our time zone and the kids were in different time zones, but this was open registration. So anyone could be part of this particular group. And then we had open registration for our adult sessions. And that's been a great component that we didn't foresee in the beginning. And we really were thinking that middle school, high school, and we have been, appreciative of the adults who have been interested in this. And it just tells us that there's always work to be done. So moving ahead, we once again have learned a lot from what we offer and continue to offer. Right now, we have one scheduled peers class, and I'll be teaching this one. And it's a fall, November 7th through December 21st. So it's a 7-week. That's one of the pieces that Melissa and I have really worked, is to provide things in different ways. Sometimes there were 16 weeks, sometimes there were 8 weeks, sometimes there were 7 weeks. We've really tried to offer some different opportunities and in different ways. And this particular one will be a 4 to 6 p.m. So it'll be an evening opportunity on Monday and Wednesday. So we would do that every Monday and Wednesday for 7 weeks. These are the topics that we would look into. Once again, sometimes when we come together, we have to spend a little bit more time on one of those topics, because we believe there's scaffolding to be done, that if we try to push through, especially those conversation, the trading information, the two-way conversation, that's where it all begins. And we need to have we need the participants to feel pretty confident there as we move forward. There at the bottom of this slide is the register. So it is on our website at the Indiana Resource Center for Autism. If you go to events, if you don't take this link will take you directly to the peers page, but it is under events and then peers. So this is the one, this is our last one that's currently scheduled. And then we're very excited to be planning for summer of 2023. And our format, once again, it will be virtual. We're looking at a 2 hours in the morning idea. So it's weekly sessions of 5 consecutive days, but the time will be 2 hours in the morning. And then the practice that the participants will do in the afternoon, we'll do that for 4 days. So we will meet 5 days, and Monday through Thursday we will have and the participants do their activities out of class sessions where they're doing their practice skills. They will do that in the PM. That was some great feedback that we had from our middle school and high school last session that Melissa worked with. That was some great feedback from them. Family component will still be there 1 to 2 hours for the week. So the topics those have not been determined yet, but they will be topic based. So think sort of like camp or boot camp, what we're calling boot camp. So that will be a topic for the week. So let's say we're going to concentrate on two-way conversation. This is what we're doing. Trading information, two-way conversations. Those are the only 2 aspects of that we're going to really work intensely on those for that week. So there'll be multiple sessions that could be signed up for, that you could register for, but it would be based on a topic. So more information will be available in spring 2023. So we encourage you to watch our IRCA website, our social media. But at any time, if you have questions about what we do, what Melissa and I do, then you can always contact us. We love talking about peers.
So Betty Lou, I answered a couple questions. One was, to give your link for your fall training, and I did that.
Mhm.
Somebody asked about buzzwords, so we entered that. The current question is, how much does a training cost? Do you know the cost for your training this fall?
I do this fall, it's $150. So that will be for the fall. Yes, the summer opportunities, we don't have that yet, but the fall opportunity would be $150. And that's for all, all the components are wrapped up into that.
Anyone else have any? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question earlier about age, and I shared that we offer a middle school, high school adults. That's been our focus. And there are like the elementary version, but we have really concentrated on that secondary and adult population.
Yep. Does anyone else have any other questions? I am excited about the summer. Like Betty Lou said, we had some good feedback from families, and they suggested, because I did it for 8 weeks this past summer, and they said it was really too long. And so it would be great if we just had it condensed, like Betty Lou said, for 5 days. And so we're really excited about that opportunity to pick fewer topics, but
Mhm.
focusing really on the just calling it a camp. I love that idea. So,
Yeah.
and we got that from the parents. So you can really watch for our in on our website, like Lou said, for the fall. I mean, not for the fall, for the summer. So we'll
Yeah.
probably present it in the make it,
Mhm.
post something for the spring.
Yeah. Yeah, it is exciting. I think that we keep learning about
Hmm.
what our families and once again, the adults and the adult agencies that we are making connections with, that, social skills is something that never goes away for anybody. There's so many people can benefit from social skills, practice, and that what the needs are, we are always asking others what that is, because we see it from our perspective, but families and agencies and schools and so forth, you all are boots on the ground. So it kind of helps us see
Hmm.
where we need to go, where we need to be flexible. And that's, I think, one thing that Melissa and I can say about what we do with the program is we are flexible. We are always we're always changing it up, and we're always trying to find new ways to engage, because we understand being virtual is challenging. And so that's why we have the lesson part, where we're doing a little bit of that lecture, we're doing the role playing, we do games, we do videos, and sometimes we pull in other videos that are not part of the UCLA piece for more practice and understanding and so forth. So it's so that it doesn't feel like I'm sitting in class for 2 hours, that you really kind of walk away feeling engaged. And we
Yeah,
offer a break. We always offer a break.
for sure.
Yeah. We have do we anticipate having an adult session in the future? I would say yes. I mean, our goal is to continue to support all three, the secondary and adult population, I believe. And sometimes where we sometimes have to stop and wait is participation, right, Melissa? So
Hmm.
we have found having less than 5 participants makes it challenging, because of this is practicing with each other and putting these, you're learning and the practice skills in the breakout rooms, and that's really hard if you just have a couple. So yes, I would see us still wanting to pull in those 3 populations. Thank you for your question.
And the person that Mr. and Mrs. Cox, I think if I'm just curious if your adult is from Northeast Indiana, because we're still part of a grant for the AWS, and I'm going to be doing part of using that grant. I can only go to Northeast Indiana. And so we're going to start recruiting for October, November, part of December in the Northeast side of the state for adults. So if you do have somebody that's from that region, we'd love to have you part of the group, and you can contact us. That would be helpful. If you're not, then like you said, we can look at that for the past January, the beginning of 2023.
Right.
Great question.
Yeah, and we encourage, like, thank you for all of you who have been here tonight with us. So please pass on to others about this, because this is the way it keeps growing, and we meet the needs of many out there. We get a lot of interest about social skills, and we want to make sure that we're reaching everyone that we can.